Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Unprepared. My name is Chase, and I am welcoming to the show today Osa from Parrotmob. How are you doing?
Doing good. How are you today?
I'm doing great. So for people that are unfamiliar with Parrotmob, just quickly, what does Parrotmob do?
Parrotmob essentially is an SMS marketing platform. So we help sellers on Shopify reach out to their customers and make more sales using SMS.
Awesome. I feel like SMS is a super big channel in 2020. A lot of new players in the game, yourself included. Obviously, there's pros and cons to all of them, but we're not going to this isn't a compare and contrast episode or anything like that. Let's just talk about the pros of SMS and maybe some tips and tricks that you've obviously picked up now being very deep into SMS and focusing in that channel. So I guess, where would you like to begin?
Yeah, I like to begin with sort of like the customer journey, right? So a lot of folks who I talk to always ask me, like, why does SMS matter? It seems like an old technology. It's been around for so long. And what I always tell people is, well, think about your personal interaction, right? Like when you buy something from a store, what do you expect, right? You expect someone to reach out to you, ask how the product's going, so on and so forth. And if you interact with your friends, you tend to do that over SMS. And if you interact with businesses, it tends to be over email. So I think the way I describe people is like, well, if you really want to touch your customers where they are, right, it only makes sense to reach out to them via text, because more often than not, people are not really, handling email in the same way as they used to, right? A lot of folks filter out a bunch of stuff. They filter out things from stores, and Gmail does a good job also of filtering out most things from businesses as sort of promotions or in some cases spam.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like what you said. You said reach your customers where they are, and that goes hand in hand in kind of with your content marketing as well. Obviously, certain channels are going to play very well, but I see that brands that are doing it better is once they figure out that one channel, they just kind of clone the strategy and put it in the other channels where maybe their customers aren't as active. But I mean, you've already done the work to get the first thing done. Might as well just rinse and repeat. I personally, when we're talking to clients or we're even running stuff for them, we're not reinventing the wheel with SMS half the time. It's like, what is your biggest message of the month or whatever the cadence is that we're reaching out to customers through SMS? And it's like, cool, we're going to distill that message down into something that fits on a text message, basically. I mean, I don't know. How's that strategy sound from your perspective?
It sounds good, right? I think it's a really good start. But the thing I always try to tell brands when they're thinking about SMS is you want it to feel like a conversation between your brand and the person you're messaging, right? And I think that's a real opportunity to really think about, well, what are the kinds of things you would say to your customer if you had them physically in a store, right? Where you have like a short interaction with them. And I think translating that to SMS feels really organic if you can start from that position of we want to talk to our customers and have a conversation with them rather than we want to announce something. Because sometimes, and you've probably seen this, brands will announce something, but they'll like try to save money on a text message. And so you'll get essentially this like weird, garbled looking message with a bunch of acronyms in it. And that feels weird, right? It feels like a message from Sprint or T-Mobile, right, on a weekday. I think instead brands should really be thinking about what are the images and like the content that you naturally would share with someone if you had them in the same room, and then figure out a way to text that, right? Because that feels organic. That if a brand messages you with something real, that feels more natural than a brand trying to compress their email marketing campaign into an SMS.
Yeah, I mean, just with everything that we're doing with marketing tactics and the new wave of trends in e-commerce, it's funny that we're kind of resolving back to how do we like duplicate what happens in a retail store in an online environment. I don't know if you see that same pattern, but like it's really funny kind of seeing that from my perspective.
Yeah, and to me, I think especially for folks who are e-commerce sellers, right? You may have started your business only online, so you may never have had the experience of running a brick and mortar business. But I think there are a lot of lessons learned there, right? Where I'll give you an example. There's a woman who I shop from in a small town I went to school at, and she sends out a message every day telling people what she cooked for the day. You can come in and buy it, right? And I remember like having text with her late at night, be like, hey, are you making X tomorrow? And she'll be like, yeah. To me, when I think of the best kind of SMS marketing, it's that, right? It feels like a relationship with the business, even if, it's not directly someone on the other end or, there's a bit of automation in there. It should feel natural because I'm on a phone. I'm not on a computer receiving like email automations.
Yeah, I mean, also it's going back to just like how can you duplicate the in-store experience? Like, there's nothing like that cash register. Like, hey, like you got X, like do you want to get Y? Like those types of upsells. They can be done digitally. I've seen them done very well. I've seen them done through text messages. So maybe a good idea here for brands is like once the world opens back up, go into some stores where you either share the same ideals, doesn't have to be the same product, or maybe it's the same product, and get some ideas from just like experiencing how those customers interact with the employees, because that's essentially the conversations that you want to have in these more direct personal channels.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think one thing that might be helpful for stores, who are online primarily, to think about is going to stores like, the Gucci store, for instance. Like I would never buy something from that because I can't afford it. But going in there and seeing the really high touch experience, right, where like you're being served like you're being served like by a very personal person. They're serving you things. They're like really helping you through the experience. I think that's the expectation people will have, not just from retail after COVID's over, but also from online retailers. I think people are going to expect that you treat them like a special customer, not just as someone who click checkout on Shopify.
Absolutely. Now, is there anything that I didn't ask you that is like worthwhile or just that's top of mind today?
Yeah. So this is a thing that I've been thinking a lot about. So one thing you'll see on our website and other people's website who are sort of talking about SMS marketing is open rates and click-through rates, right? So I think that's something I want to kind of tell people about, just in spirit of honesty. And the way I'll kind of put it plainly is open rates don't exist for SMS, right? It's not real. There are a bunch of ways you can like guess what the open rate is, but there is no actual open rate for SMS. So when I talk to a lot of merchants, they come to me and they say, hey, Osa, I'm thinking about using SMS marketing because it has a 95% open rate. And I always have to caveat them like, not really. That isn't true, because there is no way for you as a seller or even us as a platform to know if someone opens an SMS. There isn't, that technology doesn't exist yet, right? The carriers like AT&T don't allow that today. So everything when you see open rates are just guesses based on surveys that people have done, right? So that's important to know, because you should not make a decision on SMS just by saying it has a higher open rate. You really should think about whether or not your business is one that can leverage SMS, right? Like, do you have something that people are going to be willing to receive on their phones? Or are you selling something that no one really wants to get on their phone? Maybe it's not that kind of product. So that's one thing that's top of mind for me, because I've been digging around and try to find any real research on that open rate, and I found that it's all just surveys and heuristics, not actual truth based in like actual tracking.
Yeah, I've always guessed that there wasn't a real open rate thing, but no one's just come out bluntly and said it. So I thank you for doing that. Now, if people are picking up what you're putting down, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, best way to reach me is osa@parrotmob.com, or if you're interested in kind of learning more about us, just go to parrotmob.com, and definitely open to continue the conversation.
Awesome, Osa. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Awesome. Cheers.